Every time someone opened their door, they saw a delivery boy carrying food. What they didn't see was a young man carrying a dream much bigger than the delivery bag on his back. Most people thought my bicycle was taking me from one customer to another. They were wrong. That bicycle was taking me toward a life I couldn't even imagine. My name is Liam, and this is the story of how a bicycle delivery boy became the CEO of a company that changed an entire industry. I was 19 years old when I moved to the city. I had one backpack, a second-hand bicycle, and just $62 in my pocket. My father was a factory worker. My mother worked as a tailor from home. They couldn't afford to send me to university, so I made a promise. I'll build my own future. Finding work wasn't easy. Every company wanted experience. I had none. After weeks of searching, a food delivery company finally gave me a chance. The pay wasn't great, but I accepted immediately. Every morning at 7, I put on my red delivery jacket, checked my bicycle, opened the delivery app, and waited for my first order. Some days I delivered 20 meals. Some days more than 30. Rain, heat, cold. It didn't matter. If customers were hungry, I had to ride. Most people barely looked at me. They grabbed their food, closed the door, and forgot I ever existed. To them, I was just another delivery boy, but every delivery taught me something. I learned the streets. I learned how businesses worked. I learned how customers thought. Most importantly, I learned how to solve problems under pressure. Every night after work, while my friends watched movies or played games, I opened my old laptop. I watched free online courses, business, marketing, programming, artificial intelligence, anything that could help me build a better future. Sometimes I studied until 2 in the morning, then woke up again at 6. It was exhausting, but every lesson felt like another step toward my dream. One rainy evening, I received an order from an old apartment building. When I knocked on the door, an elderly man slowly opened it. He smiled warmly. "You're still delivering in this weather?" I nodded. "Bills don't wait for sunshine, sir." He laughed, then looked at my soaked clothes. "Come inside for a minute." I hesitated, but he insisted. He made me a cup of hot tea. We talked for almost 20 minutes. He asked about my life, my family, my dreams. When I told him I wanted to start my own business one day, his eyes lit up before I left. He disappeared into another room. When he returned, he was holding an old laptop. "It's not new," he said, "but it still works." I looked at him in surprise. "I can't accept this." He smiled. "This laptop won't change your life." He paused. "But what you do with it will." I thanked him with tears in my eyes. That night, I carried the laptop home like it was the most valuable thing I had ever owned. Because to me, I had no idea that this simple gift from a stranger would become the first building block of a company worth millions. But before success arrived, failure was waiting for me first. That old laptop became my greatest investment. It wasn't fast. The battery barely lasted 30 minutes. Sometimes it froze in the middle of my work, but every night I opened it with the same excitement. I spent hours learning programming, business, marketing, and app development. I didn't have money for expensive courses, so I learned from free videos, online articles, and countless hours of practice. Every delivery I completed during the day paid for my food. Every hour I studied at night built my future. 6 months later, I created my first mobile app. I was proud of it. I uploaded it online and waited. One day passed, then a week, then a month. Almost nobody downloaded it. I had spent hundreds of hours building something that nobody wanted. For the first time, I wondered if everyone had been right. Maybe I'm just a delivery boy. But then I remembered the old man's words. What you do with it will change your life. The laptop wasn't the problem. My mindset was, instead of feeling sorry for myself, I started asking people what they actually needed. I talked to restaurant owners, delivery riders, customers. Everyone complained about the same thing. Late deliveries, confusing routes, poor communication. Restaurants were losing money because their delivery systems were outdated. That's when I had an idea. What if I build software that makes deliveries faster and easier? I started from scratch. Every night after finishing my deliveries, I wrote code until sunrise. Some nights I slept only 3 hours. My friends thought I was crazy. "Liam," they said, You're working 2 jobs and making almost no money. I smiled. No, I'm building something money can't buy. Months passed. Finally, I finished the first version of my delivery management software. I visited local restaurants one by one. Most owners rejected me. We're happy with our current system. Come back later. We're not interested. It felt just like job interviews all over again. But I refused to quit. On my 23rd visit, a small family-owned restaurant agreed to try it for free. I personally helped them set everything up. For the next 4 weeks, I answered calls day and night, fixed bugs, added new features, listened to every complaint. By the end of the month, their deliveries were nearly 40% faster. Customer complaints dropped. Sales increased. The restaurant owner smiled and said, "Liam, this isn't just software. This is a solution." Soon, other restaurants started calling me, then another, then another. I hired my first employee, then a second. For the first time in my life, people weren't calling me the delivery boy. They were calling me the founder. Everything finally seemed to be going my way. But just when success felt within reach, one unexpected mistake nearly destroyed everything I had built. Success has a funny way of testing you. Just when I thought I had finally made it, life reminded me that success isn't about reaching the top. It's about staying there. As more restaurants joined my platform, I became overconfident. I expanded too quickly. I rented a bigger office, hired too many employees, spent money like success would last forever. Then reality hit. A major client canceled their contract. Another company copied our software and offered it at a lower price. Within 3 months, our revenue dropped by almost half. Bills kept coming. Investors started losing confidence. Some employees resigned because they thought the company was finished. One evening, I walked into the empty office. The lights were off. The desks were silent. For the first time since starting my business, I cried. Not because I had lost money, but because I was afraid of losing the dream I had spent years building. The next morning, instead of giving up, I called my small team together. I looked at them and said, "We're not going to compete by being the cheapest. We're going to become the best." From that day on, we listened to every customer, improved every feature, answered every complaint, worked harder than ever before. Slowly, things began to change. Restaurants came back, new businesses joined. Our reputation spread from city to city, then across the country. 5 years later, our software was being used by thousands of restaurants. One afternoon, I received an email that made me stop breathing for a moment. It was from the same delivery company where I had once worked as a bicycle rider. They wanted to use our software across their entire network. I smiled. Years earlier, they had paid me to deliver food. Now, they were paying my company to improve their business. A few months later, I was invited to speak at their annual event. As I walked onto the stage, I looked at hundreds of delivery riders wearing the same red jacket I once wore. I took a deep breath and said, "A few years ago, I was sitting where you are today." People only saw a delivery boy, but every delivery was teaching me something. Every difficult day was preparing me for this moment. The audience became silent. Then I held up my old delivery bag. Yes, I had kept it all those years. This bag carried thousands of meals. But more importantly, it carried my dreams. The room erupted in applause. After the event, a young delivery rider walked up to me. He looked nervous. "Sir, do you really think someone like me can become successful?" I smiled because I had once asked myself the same question. I placed my old delivery bag in his hands and said, "Never be ashamed of where you start. Your current job is paying your bills, but your willingness to learn will build your future." Today, people introduce me as a CEO, but deep inside, I'll always be that young man riding a bicycle through crowded streets, believing that tomorrow could be better than today. Because success didn't begin the day I became a CEO. It began the day I decided that my circumstances would never decide my future. And that's the lesson I hope you never forget. Your first job is not your final destination. It's only the beginning of your journey.